Marvel is doomed. The age of superhero blockbusters is on its last legs, wheezing through the finishing line like a drunken sprinter, only to be kicked in the nuts by some woke Karen.
That's my purse! I don't know you!
I can see the crash coming from a mile away, and it ain't pretty. I'm calling it now, before Fantastic Four, before Doomsday, before the next shiny trailer tries to convince you otherwise. The revival is not on its way, because they're doubling down on the same woke agenda that already turned Star Wars into an abomination of its former self. It's like Disney is out for blood, with a kamikaze strategy bent to destroy another beloved American IP. And for what? It's not even about money at this point. They rejected the entire idea of giving the audience what they want. Instead, force-feeding poison and slop to the pigs, for that is what they see us fans as. Because in the eyes of Disney, we are sick, and the only medicine is their woke propaganda. But it wasn't always like this. There was a time where Marvel gave fans exactly what they wanted. Characters who looked and acted like their comic book counterpart, with Easter eggs that only rewarded real fans, and a continual narrative that led up to one of the biggest team-ups we never thought we ever see on the movie screen. The Avengers was a giant cultural event, the result of 5 years of planning and execution. Fans were ecstatic to not only see our favorite characters on big screen, but done right. With an understanding of the characters, Joss Whedon made every Marvel nerd proud. So by the time the post-credits scene started to roll and we first saw the Mad Titan Thanos himself, suddenly we knew what was to come. And all those poor, confused people in the theater will come to you for your insight and guidance. All those years of reading comic books finally paid off. You mattered. It only got better from there, with an expanded universe that made icons out of Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, and Ant-Man. Box offices were printing money, setting Hollywood records, leading to the Infinity War, which was the most anticipated movie of all time, and a twist that would rival Star Wars.
I am your father.
It was shocking and game-changing. But all good things come to an end. And for Marvel, the end began with Endgame, the culmination of the epic Infinity Saga, where we see all of our favorite characters fighting alongside another to put an end to the Mad Titan Thanos' plans of universal population control. This purple bastard could eat it big time, and Robert Downey Jr. made sure that he would. Speaking of RDJ, this is where his character dies in the story. No more Iron Man. And Chris Evans' Captain America goes on an epic quest to return the Infinity Stones, comes back as an old man that doesn't want to fight anymore. So no more Captain America. And we don't know what happens on his adventure. We don't know what he's smiling about at the end. We don't know nothing. Tell us, Steve Rogers. Tell us what happened on your adventure.
No, I don't think I will.
These two were the main characters of the franchise, so when their contract was up, people were wondering who's going to lead this superhero soap opera. Now, when the show changes its lead star, fans always end up disappointed, and the MCU was no exception. Despite all the characters in the Marvel roster, the studio chose not an A-tier or a B-tier list hero, but straight double D-tier Miss Marvel. Captain Marvel, an icon for the non-existent female audience. The only girls that watched these movies were dragged in by their boyfriends or husbands, the women of man-children. And they didn't complain that they wanted a female-represented hero. No, in fact, they were confused half of the time, which gave us the honor of explaining Marvel lore to our girlfriends. In fact, the only females who did complain of lack of female representation were blue-haired wokies, and unfortunately, a new generation of Hollywood writers began to sacrifice storytelling for an agenda. What was it, Critical Drinker?
The message.
What's worse is that the source material became an eye roll. It felt like the studio started taking the real fans for granted. They thought we show up no matter what. So they started disrespecting the legends for cheap jokes, only to embolden the next wave of heroes, which didn't pay off because Disney has been struggling to make $1 billion box office for years now. Used to be a guarantee, now industry decline. Except for Spider-Man, but that's Spider-Man. That's an easy $1 billion. And instead of building something new and awesome, they're desperately clawing at what used to work, already nostalgic for something that happened 10 years ago. And what used to work was comic accurate storytelling and Robert Downey Jr. But Marvel doesn't seem to understand why that worked. It wasn't just Downey's charisma or the crazy crossover spectacle. It was the respect of the source material. The MCU used to feel like a love letter to comic book fans. Now, the genre is cooked. Audience fatigue is real. We're just tired of the same old superhero formula we've seen over and over again. It's not good that every movie that isn't a freaking dude in a red costume just faceplants out the gate. Like The Eternals, that was the dumbest choice of film ever. Nobody saw it because nobody was excited for it. I don't care about Angelina Jolie, I'm not old. The Marvels was another big pile of who gives a shit. $1 billion hero, supposed next leader of the MCU, turned to the lowest grossing MCU movie of all time. Well, that was until Captain America's Brave New World. Who'd have thought putting Hulk villains in a Falcon movie was a good idea? Good job, guys, good job.
Good job. Really good job.
So the box office wasn't looking so good, and Marvel had to do something fast. And what was their response? Bring back Robert Downey Jr. Like some kind of corporate necromancer. It's not a bold new direction. It's a desperate plea for help. From a studio that can't seem to get anything right, they're basically begging its fan base saying, okay, you win. We'll do what you like. Just please, for the love of God, buy a damn movie ticket. But even that's a lie, because they're not actually returning to what made the MCU great. They're not giving us the heart or the passion. They're just throwing old faces into a broken system. Let's talk about Doctor Doom wearing Iron Man armor. That's not just a slap in the face. That's Marvel straight disrespecting one of the most iconic villains in comic history. Victor Von Doom isn't his own character here. He's just an evil Iron Man copycat, living in someone else's shadow. The real Doctor Doom would be pissed and declare war against humanity because of this. Even Robert Downey Jr. seems to backhand this decision.
What can I tell you? I like playing complicated characters.
Yeah, tell me the Disney check was crazy without telling me the Disney check was crazy. Putting Doctor Doom in an Iron Man suit is like dressing Darth Vader in a Jedi robe and calling it a twist. It's cheap, it's lazy, and screams desperation.
He stinks, and I don't like him.
This isn't a comeback, it's a panic move, and it's only getting worse from here. With the hype of the new Fantastic Four movie, fans were eager to see the franchise go back to a winning formula. Unfortunately, it seems like the Fantastic Four is doubling down on their woke messaging, making the Silver Surfer female, Invisible Woman tackling gender politics, and apparently the Human Torch going from smooth-talking ladies man to insecure cuckold, having trouble keeping his flame up. Never mind the woke mentality, this is a complete misrepresentation of the characters. Something the fans fucking hate, because we've been waiting forever for these characters. Would it torture them to just make a Fantastic Four movie something like the frickin' comics? Why butcher characters that we know and love? This is getting ridiculous. I hope James Gunn's Superman revives DC while the new Fantastic Four tanks Marvel, because that will be justice.
What do you want for dinner?
There's no hope for Marvel. If we say the movie sucks, we're just toxic fans. It's funny that these movies are so perfect, well-crafted piece of cinema that any criticism will label you as toxic and part of the problem. While one movie looks like a comic book adaptation, the other looks like political propaganda adapting to comic books. If I have one solution for Marvel and Disney, it's to stop making these freaking movies for at least like 3 to 5 years. Fire all the writers, producers that's been in charge since the end of Endgame and start from scratch. And dump all your future projects on Disney Plus. Forget box office billions. Instead, focus on shows meant for binge watching and short form content to get the kids excited. If it's not Spider-Man, don't even attempt to make it for the big screen. You can reminisce when you were on top of the world, wondering where it all went wrong, and I'll tell you where it started. It started when you started taking the audience for granted. Taking liberties on characters, not for creative reasons, but for political messaging, making it completely and utterly lame.
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
Marvel is doomed, and it's such a shame. So many wonderful memories of going to the theater to catch the latest release, excited for the newest Marvel classic, now reduced to hoping you get your money's worth, with uninspired and boring movies that slap the face of any comic book fan. It will be years, even a decade, till we see a real revival of that MCU magic. Thank you, Mr. Mouse. That's all I have to say. If you enjoy this kind of content, like and subscribe, and comment down below to let me know what you think about this. I'm Fliffy B, and I'm out.